Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula, and welcome to today's Pokemon GO deep dive video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Hisuian Braviary. This psychic and flying type Pokemon is making its debut into Pokemon GO really soon here, and I have to say, this Pokemon is kind of a disappointment. In any case, we're going to be talking about why in this video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, let's talk about Hisuian Braviary. So, this Pokemon is one that a lot of players were looking forward to, and players were hoping that it would actually be good, at least in PvP. But unfortunately, this Pokemon actually has very little significance in anything in Pokemon GO, and that is for a variety of different reasons. But before we get into that, let's get into the brass tacks. So, Hisuian Braviary has some pretty decent stats for a regular non-legendary Pokemon. It has an attack stat of 213, a base defense stat of 137, and a base stamina stat of 242. These stats are actually not that bad, considering that Hisuian Braviary is not a legendary Pokemon, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't carry this Pokemon into greatness. As I mentioned before, Hisuian Braviary is a psychic and flying type Pokemon, which means it's going to have the same weaknesses and resistances as a Pokemon like Lugia. Hisuian Braviary is going to be weak against dark type attacks, electric type attacks, ghost type attacks, ice type attacks, and rock type attacks. It's also going to have resistances to fighting types and ground types and grass types and psychic types, but with fighting types and ground types, it's going to have a double resistance. If you want a rank 1 Hisuian Braviary for the Great League, you will want one with 0 attack, 15 defense, and 14 health. And if you want to use it in the Ultra League, you will want one that is 0 attack, 15 defense, and 15 health. Okay, now let's get into Hisuian Braviary's moves. For its fast moves, it can come with either Zen Headbutt or Air Slash, and with its charge attacks, it can come with Brave Bird, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, and Ominous Wind. Now in terms of raw DPS, you will want to go with Zen Headbutt and Brave Bird. Both of these attacks benefit from stab, but unfortunately they are not the exact same typing, so this is going to be really high neutral damage, but unfortunately there's not really a good moveset that's going to be both of the same typing. You could possibly go with Air Slash and Brave Bird to make Hisuian Braviary a flying type raid attacker, but there's going to be better flying types out there compared to this Pokemon, so I would go with any of those. This includes Pokemon like Moltres and even Lugia. Both of those Pokemon are going to deal a little bit more damage than Hisuian Braviary, so unfortunately for raid battles, this Pokemon is not top tier. And then of course in terms of psychic type attacks, Zen Headbutt and Psychic is going to be very strong, but of course Hisuian Braviary is going to get outclassed by most of the psychic types that are already out there, especially Pokemon like Alakazam and Mewtwo. Now one thing of note is the variety of different moves that Hisuian Braviary can bring. And on paper, this would indicate that this Pokemon is going to be really strong in PvP, considering that its stats are serviceable and it has a lot of type coverage. But actually, these are what make this Pokemon kind of weak in the Great League and Ultra League. Yes, Hisuian Braviary does have really high attack and really high stamina, but in terms of its defense stat, it's going to be on the lower end, which means this Pokemon is going to get knocked out pretty easily in PvP, so unfortunately, that makes this Pokemon not a viable option when it comes to the Great League or the Ultra League. Personally, I feel like this Pokemon had a lot of potential. It does have some pretty decent moves, but its high number of weaknesses and the lack of a good defense stat makes this Pokemon somewhat mediocre. Now, it does have some potential as a raid attacker, especially when it comes to flying types, considering that there's not too many out there that you could use, but this Pokemon is one that you will end up replacing later on, so it may not necessarily be one that's worth spending all the Stardust in order to get maxed out. And if you are looking to bring this to PvP, well, just be aware that there are a lot of counters to this Pokemon that are available in the Great League and Ultra League, but if you're struggling against fighting types and bug types, then this Pokemon may actually be a very good option that you could use until you get a much better flying type like Skarmory or Altaria. But yeah, overall, this Pokemon is not going to be that great in pretty much every aspect of Pokemon Go. It's not even going to be a good gym attacker or gym defender, considering that it has really low defense stats. So unless you're dodging every single attack, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep this Pokemon alive, especially because of the sheer number of weaknesses that this Pokemon has, which are all common Pokemon that players typically will have in their collection. I know this Pokemon is a fan favorite, especially for those of you who played Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I really feel like Niantic could have made this Pokemon just a little bit better so that players would actually feel right using it in different parts of Pokemon Go. I really think it could have had a lot of potential as a top tier flying type raid attacker, but unfortunately because it doesn't have some ideal moves and the stats are not high enough, this Pokemon will fall by the wayside, especially compared to some of the top tier flying types that are already out there. We recently had Moltres in raid battles, for example, and if you're willing to spend the elite charge TM in order to get Sky Attack, that Pokemon is going to be much more ideal as a flying type raid attacker. So unfortunately, this Pokemon is mediocre in every sense of the word. It's really just there as a collector's item. Like if you're raiding a whole bunch of Hisuian Braviary this weekend in order to get the shiny version of this Pokemon, you're seldom going to use that Pokemon in any parts of Pokemon Go. So it is essentially going to be just a trophy Pokemon. But if you end up getting a really good one, it might be worth maxing out just for the flex. But aside from that, I really can't find any area of Pokemon Go where Hisuian Braviary is going to be useful. So that's really unfortunate, but there are chances that Niantic could improve this Pokemon in the future. I really think all it needs is a really good fast attack that is a flying type attack, and then of course, maybe they could give it Sky Attack as an exclusive move. But in any case, yeah, that's pretty much all I really have to say regarding Hisuian Braviary. It is going to be getting a special raid day this weekend, and I know a lot of players will be interested in doing at least one or two of these raids because this Pokemon is somewhat of a timed exclusive, and I know that a lot of players are going to go after the shiny, considering that there is no guarantee that this Pokemon will make a return in the future. But in any case, yeah, that's going to be it for this deep dive video. I would love to know your thoughts regarding Hisuian Braviary down below. Are you disappointed by this Pokemon's uselessness? Definitely let me know down below, and let's have a great discussion. Of course, I might be completely off base when it comes to Hisuian Braviary, and it may actually be a top tier Pokemon in some aspect of Pokemon Go that I just completely missed. If that is the case, definitely share that as well down below. And if you ended up enjoying this video and found it to be useful, definitely hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. But in any case, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.